later.
Good evening, Diana. It's wonderful to talk to you again. This time we are working on a video called The Robles Inquisition. And I titled that because your journey of creativity was one of breaking boundaries of your own kind of programming.
It's true.
And also went against some of the more typical societal boundaries. You express no limits. You've seen no limits in trying to find the most sincere way for you to create, and that's what this video is about, is the limits that you've, let's say, come close to. And in art, I don't believe there is limits in art. And this video, The Robles Inquisition, is all about your journey of testing limits.
You're absolutely right.
And it started when you were a young human being. You were always a creative spirit, as you've said.
It's true. It can be a wonderful thing and also get you into a little trouble.
But I do believe that nature is grand, but art perfects nature. And would you like to share a little bit about how your creative journey began?
Well, I think I was always, from the time I can remember, which is way back, 3, 4, 5 years old, I think I've always had a very creative nature. I asked a lot of questions and didn't get too many answers. And I feel that I pleased my family. I was kind of the perfect child in their eyes. And I behaved that way for their sake, which is an awful lot of responsibility for a child.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an only child.
As
yes,
well.
Yeah, exactly. And they suggested piano, and I was afraid to say, no, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to be a dancer. Being afraid to not please them, I went along with that. It was a great discipline. I learned a tremendous amount. However, it was not the spirit of me. I need to move and play and dress up and that's kind of who I am. Very much who I am, I should say.
Our theme of the video very much follows the phrase to dress up. I'm trying to capture fashion throughout your creativity.
Yes. I started very young,
yes.
Dressing up with hats and veils and lots of big clothes on little me, and going into my girlfriend's sister's closets and
yes.
Dressing
what a place
up.
To explore.
Yes, I had a great time, and that continued. And I think I'm a natural designer. When I look back, I used to look in the catalogs, the Eaton's catalog in Canada, ask for buttons out of my mother's sewing drawer, and I would sit for hours and put colors together and placing things so that they fit properly.
The gift of vision.
Yeah, just and I played outside in nature that way too. I always was picking grasses or long-stemmed weeds or natural flowers, and putting things together that way. So it turned out that yes, I think I was naturally born to create fabric and clothing, and I never could dress, put out a costume to wear the next day. I had to get up, and in the moment of how I felt, I would dress the right color for the day for me, the right movement, being comfortable. So it turned out that when I was just around 30, I did go to college for a few years and thought maybe I'd become a therapist or a psychologist, but it turned out that I went on a trip to New Zealand in Christchurch and bumped into
a little bit of fate.
Yes, I bumped into a clothing store downtown in Christchurch, and what did I see but a loom and a spinning wheel and a mannequin fleece and or sheep, I should say, and went, and all of a sudden my life changed within a minute. I envisioned making a thread that would never end, and that's exactly what I've done. I'm 71 now, and it started right at the beginning, about I was 34, so early 70s, and my whole life changed, and I went off to buy a spinning wheel and learned how to spin very quickly. I studied all about sheep and all ranges of fiber around the world, silks and linens and different types of sheep, and alpaca, and it goes on. And then I ended up going to the school in North Vancouver, the weaving school, and studied with the European teacher for a few years and then became her apprentice. And it went from there, and I decided that I didn't want to ever in my life copy anybody else. So I never did. I still haven't to this day. I've only made one-of-a-kind pieces. They're all art pieces. And I stuck to it, and it's amazing that I've been doing this for 40 years, and I still have never repeated anything exactly the same, and I've also never copied anybody else. So I stuck to that, and it's been a wonderful journey. It taught me very much about myself. Who am I? And I think when you have a teacher, it's wonderful to have a good teacher, but I also think it's a detriment at some level that you end up emulating another person, or unconsciously or consciously picking up some of their traits.
That happens sometimes.
Yeah, and
their limits, yeah.
That's right.
Typically, when you have a teacher, they are the pinnacle, because you
That's
are in
right.
the position of a student, and you are lower than them. You are the student, and you emulate, and you see, I know personally that sometimes if you're not thinking clearly, they are at the top of the game, and it can be very constraining.
It can. I think that's a really good word, and I'm so glad that I decided to learn some basics at the school, and then devised my own way of going about it all. So never to copy. All high-end materials that I used from around the world, so that taught me an awful lot about other cultures as well. And I stuck to that, and thousands of pieces later, and it is amazing. I find it even more amazing as I'm getting on in years, and that I've actually accomplished that.
Yeah.
It's been an incredible
no
journey.
two are the same.
No.
That's wow.
I know. It's there's always something different that I come up with in the moment, and I trust that about myself. Sometimes I don't even know. I weave and I knit, and I spin, and I take those things from the ground up, and then I put things together that I never thought I was able to put together in the moment of wanting to create something. So I've done well on it, and my work is around the world, but I'm not a salesperson, and so I kept pretty quiet about it. I did have a lot of high-end fashion stores, boutiques in along the coast of Vancouver down to California, Neiman Marcus, and some places like that, and that was wonderful. And I sold privately as well. Those kind of pieces, they're pretty special, and so they go into high-end stores where somebody wants something very unique, and so it's been a wonderful journey to do that.
So how long did that fiber art intensive journey last?
Well,
strictly fiber art.
Yeah, from the fiber art, it started when I was, as I say, in my just past 30, say 32, 33 years old, and it's still going on today. I wove for many years. I had many looms and 2 spinning wheels and a studio space in a warehouse that was 2,000 square feet for $100 a month back then, and I dyed all my own nature dyes and that sort of thing. So it went on for years, but then one day I decided I wanted to learn how to paint.
Yeah, can you give me a snapshot? What that was that just turning the bearing on turning the housing on your compass, and what was that like for you that day?
It was in my weaving studio, and out of nowhere one day I said, I would like to become the greatest painter I know how to be, that I can possibly be.
What triggered that?
I have no idea. I had never thought of weaving or spinning, and I had never thought of painting. I couldn't even draw. I never did do any drawing really in school either.
No.
And I picked up a pencil and a paper, and I began under a tree one day just scribbling. And I kept pursuing it. And as I pursued it, I developed a style that took me about 5 years to truly develop, and I sold many pieces. And then I was compared to people like Calder and Kandinsky, and I didn't even know who they were because I did not study painting in history until I became a painter. Again, I decided no teacher. It was the best thing I could have ever done with my life because I truly found out who I am. And again, very prolific, and have been painting for 40 years. And I love it as much today, maybe even more. I went so deep in both creative outlets, and so what I do, it comes directly from me, internally from me. I again have never copied anything in painting. I never will. It comes out of me, and I trust the feeling. I trust the emotion. I sometimes get visions of a thought or an idea or a shape or a color, and I hit the board, so to speak, and I allow it to come unfold.
Great.
And I've had many of them. So yes, it's been a back and forth journey with both arts, but the painting is so personal and so immediate, whereas fashion is more sociable, in my opinion, and it also is machine-oriented, and so it takes longer for my, shall we say, gut, my soul, my mind, to get to that process in the fabric.
Yes.
But it is part of me, and then the paintings are so immediate inside of me, and I can hit the ground right away in beginning a piece.
Mm-hmm.
So they serve me very well, both of those.
Indeed, we found at least 50 different plates of different pictures of your painting portfolio that included fashion, and I just thought that was an interesting crossover. Like you said, it takes a long time to rig up a loom. It takes time to spin a pound of fleece, and by that time you could already have the whole costume on down and solidified, and perhaps from there, from your sketch, you could make something. But I think that's just fantastic that you've been able to take fashion and put it onto the paper, and you can still capture your love of fashion.
Absolutely.
And not say disregard it. You used it as a theme. And these paintings I know they range from, I think some of the earliest ones you did in New Mexico, I think they were around 1989, and then some of the more later ones that that are on the video are up to 2004. But I know personally that you have some even more current ones that have to do with fashion. So it's fashion has been a part of you your whole life, and you've said that clothes are a fantastic way to express yourself, and I feel that you've expressed yourself quite well through many paintings. Fashion and also the many scarves and shawls woven in knitted pieces, and I think you've done a fantastic job to crystallize your creativity. It's an amazing feat that you've accomplished, and one should be very proud of themselves.
I think of that now, as I say, as I'm getting older, and even I have a hard time realizing and getting my head around it sometimes that I've been so prolific and so faithful to what I love to do so much, and I never get tired of it, so I feel very blessed that way that I found myself through my work.
Right. Fantastic. Thank you, Diane.
Thank you.